Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. If you don't think that you enjoy art, stick around right here in WowBiz Nebraska. You're going to see a symbolic form of art, comparative art, that actually enables you to understand the changes the state of Nebraska is going through. That's right, my name is Lynn Hinderaker right here on WowBiz Nebraska. And ladies and gentlemen, my good friend and commentator, Mr. Bruce Arendt, is finally here.
I'm back. Good to be back. Thank you very much.
We've been waiting for you, man, for weeks or even
Months.
longer.
Yeah.
Months, that's right.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are you doing now? You're healed up, your leg is healed up, and you're already off and satisfying the needs of children across the state.
Well, it's so good to be back in the saddle. I mean, I'm truly thankful that things are healing. I'm not 100%, but I'm enough that I can get out and I can do my thing again, which is great.
Yes.
And I've already done one large school visit thing a couple of weeks ago, and then I've got more of them lined up now, actually out state, and I've got
Going out to Cherry County even, huh?
out that way. Yeah, that's my favorite part of the world. I love the sandhills.
And why don't you tell the audience what you do exactly? You're mostly reading from either of the two books?
No, well, that sometimes incorporates into it.
Okay.
I've got about 5 different programs I do for schools.
Okay.
I talk about picture book production, publishing and stuff, and I teach kids what it takes to make a picture book and the art and everything, the kind of behind the scenes, because they just think a picture book just appears, it doesn't. Yeah. But I also do writing workshops and editing workshops and illustration workshops and different educational things like that.
Absolutely, and you unleash the creativity in these young folks, and that is so important to our society.
To me, I think imagination is a kind of a lost art, and that's something I really try to emphasize. And I've had some beautiful feedback. I had, just real quick, I had a 6th grade boy come up to me after a session, I guess it was this last time, and he was so serious, and he said, "You taught me how to draw." He says, "I've never been able to draw before." And I found out later through the teacher that was actually true. And she even called his mother to tell her about it. And she said, and the mother said, "Well, he's already told me that he learned how to draw from this man." But to me, that's what it's all about. If you can
Bruce,
open up a world,
that's a lasting legacy contribution.
Yeah.
And a natural thing for you to do.
Yes, and it's fun. I have more fun than the kids,
I think Alan Watts was the guy. He said, the key in your work, in your life, is to find some type of job or work where people pay you to play. Alan Watts said it.
That's exactly kind of what it is.
That's exactly right. Well, can we take our attention and help our audience focus on these interesting visual images?
Sure.
And I'll explain, obviously, along the way why we're throwing them up right now. But I'm going to lift around here and ask our camera team to try to catch this image right here, and we'll get it up several times throughout our dialogue here. What you'll see there on your left is kind of a gray and brown muddled compilation, kind of like abstract art, but if you look at it closely, what you're really looking at there are autumn leaves.
Yes. Looks like my backyard.
Yeah, just kind of piled up in a pile, and the color and the shapes and so on are kind of interesting from an abstract art point of view. Now, on the right-hand side, of course, we've got something completely different, bright, digital kind of art, something exactly the opposite of what we see on the left, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Now, I'm into symbols because I think the right hemisphere of the brain is very powerful and underused most of the time, and that's where symbols kind of come into play in discussions right now. But I'm going to put down the image here right now and talk a little bit about what Nebraska is evolving from and evolving into. Bruce, I'm out there talking to people across the entire state about how to attract young folks to our state, or retain them at the very least.
Right.
And they'll sit there and they'll say, well, what are they looking for? What are we supposed to do? We have a good place here. It's friendly, and people can come here, and we think it's really a cool place. And I say, well, they're looking for a variety of things here that are quite different from our beautiful pioneering heritage and past.
Right.
And let's read them off. And because the problem is that people kind of make a linear, that, and then check box that, and that's that, and they're listening to me, but they're not assimilating it. And what they're not saying, and I know this, is they're saying, Why would they want to do that?
Yeah.
Right? Why would they want to live in a downtown area when they could have a nice grass yard and a dog? And who wants to live downtown? That's nuts. So their personal biases project themselves into the future, the strategy of the city.
That's a big problem all over.
It's a terrible problem. So I thought perhaps we could just focus for just a minute on kind of the past and the future.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
For instance, we start out right now, and people actually talk to me about this. So they say Nebraska is a state of pioneers, hardworking entrepreneurs who buy raw materials from one supplier, mark them up, resell them in their local markets.
It all stays local.
Sure, stays local, it's classic. I remember the days when Walmart started opening up 30, 40 miles away, and they started getting in their cars and driving to Walmart, leaving the local grocer on Main Street behind. So things began changing a while back.
I was in sales out in the central and western part of the state, and Walmart was just
chewing it up.
If there was a Walmart within 100 miles, you were in
man,
trouble. So yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother
That's okay. No, but today, if somebody says, well, tell me about Nebraska. Somebody's living in Maryland and they're thinking they might want to go someplace. I would say here in Nebraska, and I would show them this bright digital abstract image.
Right.
Nebraska is becoming a state of digital innovation, demographic diversity.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, that's a hot topic everywhere I look. And geographic cross-fertilization. So communities and it's boundaryless increasingly.
Right, it's not just local.
Doesn't matter because of the internet. Obviously,
Right.
we can go anywhere mentally. Watch a video of somebody who's clear out in Alliance or back in Omaha. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. So we'll go back to the old school, for instance, right here. The profits are spent in their local market. Civic officials, very important, focus on street repair, budgets, and maintaining the status quo.
Right.
No surprise.
Gotta have
We
good
run into a
streets.
lot of those people, don't we? But here we're talking about product design. It says fusion and customization are key in product design. Fusion. Now we talked about this before. It's a favorite subject, right? Where you pull elements or features and cobble together maybe a new product or service.
Something brand new. Yeah.
Something exciting, yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs love that particular strategy. And going on a little bit further here, and as I wrap up this section, this one-size-fits-all world, I want to say that, is defined by handshakes, memories, and grit.
That's how it always had been, or has been, I should say.
Exactly right, and they're proud of it.
Yeah.
Many people say, I just do business with a handshake, and your dad and I used to do some stuff, so I know I'll be happy to work with you.
Yeah.
Right, those kinds of things, very powerful and still lasting.
Very powerful, yeah.
Especially as you go west, central, and west. Now, going back to the digital world, the urban world that we're looking at right now and how it's changing the state, here now, more and more civic officials are evolving the community concept. That's a very interesting word, the community concept, while building urban natural enclaves. Why don't you tell me what you think all that means?
Well, when I think of at least the community side of it, I think of, and I've probably mentioned this in the past, things like libraries even have become community centers. I mean, where it used to be, to me, as a little kid, it was always the oppressive place where you couldn't talk, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, people are looking for senses of community, you know?
Absolutely. And urban natural enclaves, that tells me, well, a little bit like the library concept, but that there are areas around town, could be downtown or could be out in the suburbs or whatever, where that you can kind of see. La Vista would be an example of this. You're starting to see Papillion.
Right.
You're starting to see them kind of create a very defined area of interaction.
And they become sort of a destination too.
Yeah,
you know, they
yeah.
kind of they develop their cool little shops and restaurants and all that.
And they
sort
like
of
to
thing,
stay
and
there, kind of.
Yeah.
And buy a book over here and then go have a cup of coffee over
Right.
there. And they like that kind of that old-fashioned Main Street idea. Isn't it funny how we're reinterpreting some of those themes?
Full circle.
Yeah. And then of course youth remain in the old ways, the traditional ways. Youth remain. They take over the operation from dad or mom, and business is cut and dry. There's really no challenging any of those ideas. Everybody knows that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. That's how it was. But now we have a whole different Nebraska. And in particular, and I'm going to end on this note, rural and urban citizens embrace a shared identity. Wow. Huh?
And a lot of that we have to give credit to the internet, things like that, and more like global marketing and
We get to
commerce and all
know
of that.
people through the web.
You can do business.
They don't seem so distant from us.
You can do business anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. But we've had a real problem in this state, as the entire country has, and it's worsening in some ways, where different parts of our society are really alienated from each other.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that some of the things that we're discussing right here about the state of Nebraska, we can cleverly and holistically redefine who we are.
Right.
So that we want to embrace those people who are so different from
Right,
us.
and kind of bring things together.
And learn from them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, this is a ripe period as we kind of go into the promotional area. We know that the pandemic thing is starting to wind down a little bit. There's some, frightening statistics still, but nevertheless, we kind of see an end to all of this. So there are many companies right now, many business leaders who are sitting around saying, maybe we should have a plan, maybe we should be doing something, maybe we should be doing something big. Because if our competitors are sitting around on their hands, I don't know, maybe we should go try to get their customers.
Right.
Yeah? So I thought perhaps we could, in fact, some people are calling it a revolution. If don't just go ahead and pick up the ball from what you were doing 2 years ago, but really kind of stage amass some clever resources and try to, quote, stage an industry revolution.
It's a good opportunity to start fresh.
It is, and to do something maybe bigger than you ever thought could be done.
More innovative, something you didn't have the opportunity
Exactly.
before. Here it
well,
is.
let's talk about, somebody said, that's an interesting idea, I'll give that some thought. Why don't you just go ahead and tell me, how would somebody, stage an industry revolution? That's an interesting idea. Where would we begin with that? Now, I start that on number 11 here. We kind of have a list of 11 key points, and this first one you might want to take a crack at.
I'll read this here. It's an interesting list. Imagine a different customer, emphasize new aspects of the existing customer, focus on satisfying a usage occasion,
yes,
rebrand customers in a way that makes you think about them differently.
Yeah.
So that's a plateful right there, to imagine a different customer.
Or maybe, we're all multifaceted human beings, so maybe it's the same customer from a physical point of view, but maybe we're focusing on an aspect of them. For instance, if I'm in the paint business,
right.
All right, I might say, well, I'm going to buy some paint, I'm going to paint the basement, my wife wants me to do that. That would be normal.
Right.
Right. But when you find out that the color, and we'll break away shortly, the color represents who you are deep down inside.
Yeah.
I'm a green person, by the way. I don't know if you know that. But if I were to paint a room right now, which I did at one time by myself, I would paint it chartreuse.
Chartreuse?
Chartreuse. And it would be really a way for me to clarify and reinforce who I really am. You don't believe me.
I believe you. I just hadn't heard that before.
Oh, absolutely. And that'd be a way to sell paint. Find yourself, throw yourself into the color, express yourself. After 2 years of sitting around having a pandemic, repaint the wall, grab your identity, and go forward. All right. Well, hey, while Bruce Aaron thinks about that, we're going to move on to our promotional sponsor here for this particular edition of WowBiz Nebraska. My name is Lynn Hinderaker, and we're going to tell you today, this show is brought to you by the Empowerment Breakfast here in Omaha, Nebraska. They get together the last Friday of every month. They meet at Beacon Hills Restaurant in Exarban Village here, kind of in the center portion of Omaha, Nebraska. The Empowerment Breakfast people have been around for some time, kind of got pulled together by the Action Coach team, Jim Barger, Mike McCain, and some other people. But I have to tell you, one thing interesting about this, when you go to the Empowerment Breakfast, you're going to meet a lot of other small business people and so on, but they bring in speakers, right? They bring in speakers, and these speakers have full, kind of full freedom, latitude to do whatever they think they need to do in terms of making their presentation relevant and interesting and so on. Well, I had the privilege, right? I had the privilege of doing that recently. If I actually had the poem here in front of me, it'd be great to start and actually read the poem for the audience, but we don't have that poem right here, right now. So we'll be right back with you in 30 seconds so we can read the poem from the Empowerment Breakfast, and you'll get a sense about those people are great. I want to go see those events. We'll be right back. Talk to you soon.
Where can you watch KPAO Community Television? The channel with all of the local shows, If you live in the Omaha area, Cox Channel 22 and 1022 HD is your place. If you prefer streaming, go to kpaotvomaha.org. And now, if you have the Apple TV box, grab our app and watch us there. KPAO on cable, streaming live, and now on Apple TV.
Welcome back to WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. That was such a big break here. We've got what the Empowerment Breakfast wanted to hear. They wanted to start the presentation with a dramatic, attention-grabbing message. Okay?
Yeah.
And when you in public speak, I don't know if you know this, but in public speaking, you start with something a little surprising, but has a wide context.
Oh, okay.
So if the audience doesn't like it, you can get the hell out. And no, but if they you can kind of come at the subject from a couple angles.
Right.
So we'll pretend right now that you're right there at the Empowerment Breakfast.
Okay.
As you were.
I actually was.
Yes, and there was a thundering applause, as you recall.
My ears are still ringing.
Okay, here we go. So imagine an audience right here at the Beacon Hills restaurant, right?
Okay.
Unseen birds cluck and tweet. Humans triangulate across the street. Clouds boom, there's plenty of room, gone now, back soon, then gone again. Like the drips and the drops, counter-rhythmic hips and hops coming out, the musical spout, an eco beat, a psychic treat, a splenetic riff, a sacred whiff of eco juice, cutting me loose, nature's notes that spray and play and say, enter the fray, but don't go away, it's time to play. Eco bebop, eco hip hop, eco trip hop. Turns on the car just down the street. Time to meet neighbors we don't know. Sleepy kids in tow, shutting the door, feet on the floor, leaving their scent, following their bent. The moment arrives, the drummer drives. Rubber meets the road. Pressure, diffusion, percussion, atoms blend. They found a friend. Integration, celebration, fabulation. Robins clap, sparrows flap, a jet roars, a cloud pours. No difference, really. It's all the same. Doesn't need a name. The rhythm of life on your platform, your marketplace, and your hub. Huh?
You need a beret and a cigarette. So
And a beatnik and a bongos drum in
bongos.
1957. I know.
No,
what
that's
you're thinking.
it's very deep.
But it does at the very end, I think the point that I'm going to try to make the point.
Okay.
That it's all energy.
Right.
Right. And energy is what matters when you go to an organization, when you go hang out, when you're at a group, when you're starting a company. Sometimes you get too focused on this thing and you have your to-do stuff and your checks and marks, right. And you forget the point that it's all energy and it all overlaps and it's all connected. And in the end, somebody says, your organization is doing really well, man. They're really out there pumping, and I think they're really, I just want to congratulate. And you're going, but we didn't get the newsletter out on the right time, and we had a typo in the last press release, and our product had a small defect. I just feel bad about things. No.
Yeah.
Right. But the Empowerment Breakfast will allow speakers to kind of stretch out a little bit, make the key point, engage the audience. You ought to go. It's only $25, and you meet a lot of great people, and they're interested in you. And that's what really matters when you're at a mixer that has an educational twist.
And it was a good group. It was fun. I met a lot of people.
About what, 30 people? Maybe 35?
Oh, I think there was 50.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a big audience.
Yeah.
Well, I publicize my appearance, so you know how things are going to go there.
That's right.
All right, anyway, so we're right here on WowBiz Nebraska. I'm with Bruce Aaron, thank goodness. And we're going to start taking on industry malaise, all right? Staid industry practices. We're all sitting around as the pandemic appears to be kind of declining. We're going, what could we do?
Yeah.
What could we do that would be reasonable? Maybe we have to invest a little bit of money. Something that will scare the heck out of our competitors when they finally see it. But the question is, let's not waste our time. Let's make sure we make the right moves. Right. If we're going to step up and intensify and so on. Now, Bruce, you said, we started off our list of ways to change an industry. You said, just imagine the customer being different. Right. And I'll just add one thing. I think that's a great one, by the way, but I'm going to add one example, all right? several years ago, I had the opportunity to stumble across some work that was done by a lady who's passed away, used to run a consulting firm in New York. She came up with this word, emotile.
Emotile.
Emotile is a wonderful word. I stole the word from her, and I turned around and I used the word in front of a large association, a customer service organization, and I explained to them my interpretation of who an emotile person was. And I'll say it quickly here because it actually is relevant here.
Right.
Emotion, you know, these days when you have a mobile phone, a smartphone, you can do research endlessly. Reviews, right? And we do, right? We do. We're looking at this. Well, I started researching him, but I didn't have time to finish it. I'll get back to it. And so over time, we kind of stretch out the sales cycle, but we kind of like the fact that we know more and more and more and more about the product.
Right, we can be more thorough.
Yes, but we also tend to procrastinate. And as we procrastinate, our emotions or our attraction, the emotional component of our mentality keeps building, kind of comes up. Well, at a certain point in time, after you've read about 32 reviews on Yelp about this or that product, you finally say, you're driving in the car, say, to heck with that. Yes, I'll buy it. Big deal. You have an emotional final response because you've been putting off the energy.
Yeah.
You wanted it in the first place, but you want to rationalize it by reading all these reviews.
You finally at the tipping point.
There's a tipping point, so it's mobile and they're emotional, and it opens up and there's the purchase. But if you're the salesperson that's trying to get that, it's driving you nuts. You can't figure out why this woman or guy, whatever, doesn't just go ahead and make the purchase.
Right. It's like, just make up your mind.
They're emotile.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
They're emotile. Okay.
Isn't that a cool word?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so there you go. Let's go on to the next one, should we? Number 10. This is how to change an industry. So people go, oh, where'd they come up with that? They stole like 2/3 of our customer base in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They're killing us. Okay, so here's the thing. Drive convergence, blur the boundaries between industries. So here's an example. Let's say, for instance, you're in the credit card business, financial bank or whatever, and you meet somebody who owns a big chain of hotels, like motel, super hotel, whatever.
Right.
And you meet them at a cocktail party, and they're kind of boring. They're not doing well, and we're not doing well. We said, what if we get those tech guys, and we'll take our credit card, have a proprietary card, but it can actually work in your motels only, and people don't even have to go to the front desk. They can look on the web and find out which room is open.
Yeah.
Go to it, stick the card right in, $79, open the door, walk in. You see what I'm saying?
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be pretty nice if all of our products and services were easy peasy to use, right? So there's a convergence there between credit cards and motel entry points.
Try to figure out some kind of synergy between you and someone else that
dual
hasn't
purpose,
been done.
dual usage.
Right.
All right, go on to the next one. Rescale the industry.
Rescale industry, be boundaryless, create partnerships to move into different markets.
Oh yeah.
Scale up or scale down to a super niche.
Yes. What do you think about that? I thought that's very exciting. Scale up in particular.
Or scale down. People a lot of times don't think about scaling down, but that can actually be effective too.
It'd be pretty cool if you were a little retailer.
Yeah.
You can't compete with the big guys. So you cut your square footage in half. So you have a very small square footage in your shop. And all you do is bake pink cupcakes. That's all you do.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Not a bad idea, really. And then you have like 16 of them in the area.
Yeah.
And you got to call it pink. That's it.
Right.
But I'm just saying, that would be an example. Don't try to compete on all these other different categories.
But I think it is a smart strategy in a lot of cases. You have to really be careful about it, but you want to set yourself apart, and that'd be one way to do it. Just
that'd be one way to do it.
Downscale yourself, become more of a boutique.
Yeah. I get calls all the time from companies to say, how are you going to scale your firm up? How are you going to scale up your operation? You can't just go from one individual client to the next. You got to get big. You got to go for it. And of course, we're talking now about Nebraska, which is a consulting and coaching operation across the entire state. And my answer is, well, we're going to help our members be build their own little communities, so they'll bring their customers on, and they'll get the sales done for us while we help bring them all together around their brand. You think that makes sense?
It does to me.
Okay. How about number 8 on the next page? Increase accessibility and to go direct to the end user and go around resellers and all that.
That has become huge, where people can just, buy direct, so to speak.
Buy direct.
Yeah, that's kind of become the way a lot of business is done now.
Yeah, and if
More
you're a
than anything.
reseller and you're in the middle and you get cut out of the action,
Yeah, I know.
this list could become invaluable. All right, let's keep on going.
Strive for individuality, such as custom-made to order Levi's.
Yeah.
Pink Levi's.
I like the idea of custom-made products.
Oh, yeah.
Made to order. Personalization, we know that's huge.
Yeah.
I get emails all the time from strangers. Lynn, I love you. You and I are good buddies, etc. And it's a bot that's delivering this information. Causes great skepticism inside of me, and bitterness and centeredness.
Is that why you're so bitter?
I'm so bitter. All right, let's go on to number 5. Surround a product with extra meaning. This will probably be our last one here on WowBiz Nebraska with Bruce Arent, Lynn Hinderaker. It's been a scintillating show.
It has been.
It has been. All right, let's go back to surround a product with extra meaning, like Tom's shoes. You drop $100 with Tom's shoes, and they're taking $10 out and sending it to somebody in Venezuela.
Yeah.
They go buy drugs with it, do very well. No, you know what I'm saying. This is a very important idea. Cause marketing is huge. It really is very important. And it does, in fact, create a certain type of buyer really cares a lot about that.
Right. That's a.
Have you ever purchased anything because they work with a nonprofit?
I've not.
No?
But I mean, I don't buy.
You look like an uncaring person to me. I don't know.
I'm bitter. Like you are.
How about this? Was my favorite one right here. Achieve joy of use, like in a grocery store. I want to tell you, this is a true story. I've been to Baker's and Hy-Vee with this whole idea. Okay. They threw me out in both times.
Really?
They have olives back there, a beautiful little island of olives. It's beautiful. But it's just dead there. And so I go to the two guys. I say, where do olives come from? They say, Italy, Greece, I said, if you just had a beautiful music, have some music back here, opera, something like that, create an ambiance. Kind of puts people in the mood to buy olives with feta, as a matter of fact, in particular. But I'm just saying, and they're such great guys, they go, wow, it's a great idea, it's a great idea. I say, it is really a great idea. You can increase, business exponentially. They said, that's fantastic. I'm like, should I tell you? Like that. You walk around and you're going to buy it. Yeah. And then I say, call somebody. They said, oh, no, we'd never do that. That would go nowhere. Really? Nowhere. Nobody would ever listen to us. We'd get fired. You'd be in deep trouble.
Banned from the store.
Go away. Thanks a lot. All right, so that's what a big corporate operation does to creativity. On that note, WowBiz Nebraska, I'm Lynn Hinderaker. This is Bruce Arent. He's been very silly. We need to solve and get him kind of more sober as we go forward into the season. But thank you so much for being here. Great to see you. We'll see you next time on WowBiz Nebraska.